Greetings, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm Dr. Marianne Mercer. Welcome to my Positive Life Answers podcast. I'm your podcast host and your self-improvement expert, Dr. Marianne Mercer. You may be wondering, who's Dr. Marianne Mercer? Well, I am a book author many times over, speaker, psychologist by training, and an intensive coaching co-creator. We created this patented method called intensive coaching many years ago. I have worked successfully with hundreds of people over the years, and I have a proven track record. I've achieved many things in my life despite many obstacles and setbacks, and I share my story with you via this podcast as well as other people that we have examples with on this show. So welcome to episode 32. I call this episode Secrets to Creating Rapport with People. My Positive Life Answers podcast, my goal is to help you transform the quality of your life and help you create the life you desire. The goal of my podcast is to help you make improvements or changes in practical, easy, and empowering ways. So let's create your best life ever. If you're new and just discovered me, thank you for joining us. Welcome. I'm glad you're here today. Don't forget to follow the podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. And when you follow the podcast, you can look at previous episodes and listen to them too. So thank you for those who also have been following me and supporting my podcast. So please don't keep me a secret and share this with somebody you know that may need these kind of self-improvement tips. Today, we're talking about creating rapport with people. I decided to continue this relationship building topic from the last couple episodes. So creating rapport with people in your quest to create new and improved relationships is kind of what I'm talking about here. In my work with my intensive coaching clients over the many years, I see time and time again when they're making improvements or even changes in their lives, we all observe that the relationships of course also become affected, like a domino effect. Sometimes that's a good thing that happens, and other times it's a sad but true occurrence. In my last two episodes, we talked about releasing emotional vampires and drainers from your life. We coined the term emotional vampires in our Spontaneous Optimism book released many years ago. We talked about that, and then we talked about how to develop last time new contacts and friends and build healthier relationships. So briefly, we explored some ways people are toxic and drainers in your life, or in your quest to improve your life, they become toxic drainers. Ways to disconnect from toxic people and emotional vampires. Then after releasing drainers and vampires, people often ask me what's next, how do I fill the void, or kind of feel hesitant to make new friends. And we discussed that in the last episode. Episode is different, and it's going to explore ways people relate to each other. But both episodes will give you that boost that you need and those secret tips that you need to move on with your life. I love receiving comments and questions in my email from my listeners. I received kind of a type of question that was asked by several people, and that is, how do you connect, or what I call establishing rapport? How do I connect with people in order to evaluate if these new people are ones I want in my life, and take a step ahead to create new and healthy relationships that you talked about? And that's a great question. So last time we talked about some of the practicalities and ways to evaluate people that you might be interested in friendships or support systems. So last time we did talk about different ways you can find to meet people as an adult and the challenges that come up with that. And also, as you're meeting new people, how to evaluate whether they're going to be a vampire or not. But today we're going to take a little different twist, and I love tweaking my thoughts about where the podcast goes based on your comments. So I appreciate your questions and this topic that came up. So we're going to just talk about how do you establish rapport with somebody so that you can then move on and use those tips about evaluating them and seeing if they're a good match for you. Establishing rapport with people is really about comfort we have with another person. Feeling comfortable with another person boils down to these key ingredients. One, I think, feeling both of you are in sync. Number two, a sense that you're both on the same wavelength. And you probably felt that with people, that sometimes you feel that you're on the same wavelength. That could be a good potential. And noticing the other person understands your thoughts, needs, and feelings. That's point number three. Given the totally natural human reactions, the basic principle behind making people feel comfortable with you, and also the basic principle behind making a good impression on practically anyone, is that human beings crave to be around people who seem similar to themselves. Let me say that again. Human beings crave to be around people who seem similar to themselves. So when I conduct a workshop or a seminar, I repeat that phrase to people and I say, what's the key word? What is the key principle and the key word in the statements that human beings crave to be around people who seem similar to themselves? And if you're with me, can you guess what that is? Yes, the key word is seems. S-E-E-M-S, seems. I recently talked about this in a workshop I conducted for an organization. You know, and after all, everyone's different. Everyone else is in a minimum of 100 ways different than you are. In fact, if you think of all the people you know, you most likely have hundreds of differences with your friends, colleagues, and acquaintances. However, you get along with these people to some degree because you figure out some ways you seem similar to each other. What do I mean by seem similar? For instance, you have some similar interests, thoughts, feelings, experiences, and perhaps even goals. And I must say, what I'm going to present to you, the 4-square interaction style, is based on my co-author and my husband's book, Dr. Michael Mercer. He wrote the book called How Winners Do It, High Impact People Skills for Your Career Success. So How Winners Do It, High Impact People Skills for Your Career Success. And you can find information and order the book directly from us at positivelifeanswers.com. So let's get to work here. So listen up, please. There are a number of ways to hit it off with practically everyone, and this first technique is so important. Keep in mind, this is a way to meet people who can be potential friends or support people in your life. And also, this is a great way, and I've done this workshop, including this technique with organizations, and it's a really good way to build teams, and it's a really good way to get along with people that you work with. So the first rapport creating technique that Dr. Mercer, Michael Mercer, calls is the 4 interpersonal styles. Basically, only 4 main styles exist that people like to interact and deal with each other. So there's 4 main interpersonal styles. So listen up here, and I'm going to describe these 4 interpersonal styles to you. And as I describe each style, please imagine people you know who more or less fit into this 4-square style. So imagine on a piece of paper 4 squares, and at the top there's going to be more people who are task oriented than people oriented, and on the bottom people oriented more than task oriented individuals kind of fit into that square. So kind of make a cross and see where you fit. So imagining this little 4-square interaction style, on the upper left side you have the detail focused person. The detail focused person says, slowly tell me how to build a clock, and slowly leading up to what time it is. So this person wants every single detail. Slowly tell me how to build a clock, and then slowly tell me how that leads up to telling me what time it is. So that's on the upper left side. On the upper right side, you have the results focused individual here. The results-focused individual says, quickly tell me what time it is, and not how to build a clock. I couldn't care less. Just quickly tell me what time it is. They're very fast-paced. They just want what the results are. So you can see on that upper quadrant, you have detailed focus, results focus. Going on the bottom side, on the left side, you have the friendly focused person. Their friendly focused person says, first I'll tell you about my family, my weekend, my experiences. Then let's talk about yours. Then after that, we'll talk about work or what we need to do. These people, they're friendly. They want to chit-chat about their family, their friends. And then they want to chit-chat about your family, your friends, your weekend. And after that, they'll settle down and say, let's talk about what work we need to do or plan what we need to do for an activity. And on that last quadrant, on that lower right side, we have the partying focus individual. So I bet you can guess what's going to go on here. The partying focused individuals. Party focused individuals, they just want to have fun. And it's really, you want to hear another joke. They love telling jokes. They say, let's party. And they never really settle down into the task at hand. So partying focused people are very extremely social, but to the point of they just want to have fun. Keep that in mind. So stay with me now. So you have this 4-square style. You have the detailed focused person, results focus, friendly focus, and partying focus. And most people fit into one of those 4 quadrants. Some people kind of have a little of both. Now, let me give you a little more information on each square and kind of think about some people in your life and yourself and see which kind of focus you have. The first, let's go with the results focused person first, that upper right side quadrant. The results focused person is the sort of person who absolutely loves you when you very quickly walk into their office, very quickly say what you did, and very quickly leave. Now, this is a work example, but it's very powerful. In other words, the results-focused person delights in finding out what time it is and couldn't care less about how you built the clock. The second type of person, opposite of them on that upper right side, left side I should say, is the detail-focused person. So in sharp contrast to the results-oriented person, a detail-focused person wants to know all the itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny details of how you built the clock. In fact, they may not give a care about what time it is because they want to know all the itsy-bitsy details. I hope you understood that because that was fun. The detail-focused person relishes your visit when you walk into their office with a pile of papers or data to review, sit down like you're going to stay a while, and then slowly and carefully go through all the details of what you did. And then you very slowly and carefully go through all the small details of what you plan to do. Throughout your conversation, you need to help this person feel comfortable that every single little thing you did and will do came off flawlessly. Why? Because detailed focused people tend to be perfectionistic type people. Moving on, the third type of person we introduced you to was the friendly focused person. When you go see this person, before you can get down to the work at hand, they first want to talk about their weekend, their family and friends. And then before they get down to work, they desire to talk about your weekend, your family, your friends. And then they want to gossip about someone else's weekend, family, and friends. After they get all their friendly chit-chat out of their system, the friendly, focused person is willing to discuss the work that needs attention. Or if you're on a personal level or you're planning to go out or do something, then they get to the point where they can focus on making some plans with you. At that point, the friendly focused person usually transforms into a results focused type person. They just want to know, when are we going? What is the benefit? Finally, the fourth interpersonal style is somebody who uses a partying focus approach, the partying focused person. Briefly, that the partying focused person just wants to have fun. In fact, Dr. Michael Mercer and I joke about the partying focused person shows up at work long enough to rest up and get another paycheck so they can go out and have more fun again. Partying focused people love to laugh and talk. They cherish when you laugh at all their jokes and humor. They also relish your existence on this planet if you tell them some jokes or make them laugh. In fact, you can probably detect a partying focused person 50 feet down the corridor if this is at work or at a party on the other side of the room because they have the loudest laughter coming from them and they're partying with every single word that they say. Now, the question arises, how do you greatly increase your odds of making a good impression and comfortably getting along with each type of person in this quadrant? So I hope you've kind of reflected to see where do you fit into that for interpersonal style. First, take a moment to see where you fit into that and write it down or make a mental note of it. As you start going out to meet new friends or people after you release drainers and emotional vampires, it's going to be important for you to use this quadrant, these 4 square interpersonal styles. How do you greatly increase your odds of making a good, comfortable connection with somebody? Well, let's return to the basic principle. Human beings crave to be around people who seem similar to themselves. Those are the people who get along with you the best. So what proves best to do when you crave to make an impression on a results-oriented type person that you're standing in front? You act results-oriented. Tell them what time it is and not how you build the clock. So that's one thing. What happens when you want to help or connect with a detailed focused person? Feel comfortable with each other and that you can get along. Go into the itsy-bitsy details of how to build the clock. Perhaps not even getting to what time it is till much later. Let's continue with our questions and answers. So listen to me, please. Focus. How do you make a great impression on a friendly focused person? To do that, ask them about their weekend, their family and their friends. Then tell them about your family, weekends, and friends, and let them connect with you on that level and laugh with them. Finally, what do you do to make a good impression or to connect with a partying focused person? Well, first of all, smile and look them in the eyes because they're always smiling. I think next, laugh at their jokes. As long as they're jokes that don't offend you, laugh with them or smile and ask them what fun and exciting things are they doing lately. That will really spark a great conversation. So preparing to use these interpersonal styles, let's practice how you can use this method. To begin with, ask yourself as a very, very results focused person. The main concerns are what time it is. You don't care how anyone builds the clock. Now imagine an extremely detail focused person comes in to see you, or this is somebody you poked up with at a social event. This person loves to sit down and plan and spend a lot of time with you planning things. They slowly want you to tell them how to build the clock and carefully telling you all the little bitty details they carried out. So I'm using this clock example because it's so much easier to convey that in a podcast episode. So in this example, a results focused person, would you feel this detailed focused person be in sync with you, act like they're on the same wavelength, or understands your thoughts, needs, feelings, or opinions? Of course not. Preparing to use these interpersonal styles, so let's practice how you can use the interpersonal style method. To begin with, imagine yourself as a very results-oriented person. So just imagine for a moment that you're a results-oriented person. And your main concern is what time it is, and you don't care how the clock is built. Now, imagine a very detailed focused person comes to see you or meets you. This person loves to sit down, like they like to spend a lot of time planning things with you. They slowly tell you how to build the clock, carefully telling you every little bitty detail that they carried out. So you, as a results-oriented person, would you feel this detailed focused person is in sync with you? Do you feel this person acts like they're on the same wavelength as you or understands your thoughts, needs, feelings, and opinions? And if you're paying attention to these questions, you'll say, of course not. They often talk and do things very slowly, and it makes it so incredibly hard to make the detailed focused person just get to the point, the results-oriented outlook that you have. And that's not a good fit. So now let's change this situation. Imagine you're a very detailed focused person. So imagine you're a detailed focused person, even if you're not. An extremely results focused person comes to see you. This person very quickly walks into your office. In fact, they so quickly that they wonder if they even touch the ground as they walk. They very quickly say what they did, tells you what they want to do next, and then walks out before even saying anything else. My question to you would be, would you feel in sync with that person? As a very detail-focused person, you would feel like she's on the same wavelength with you or not? Or would you even believe this person understands your thoughts, needs, feelings, and opinions? And you would say, of course, not really. So let me summarize this to make it easier. The message of these two examples boils down to this. The results-focused person is not good or bad. And the detail-focused person is not good or bad. What really matters is, and you'll always remember this if you're paying attention right now, that human beings crave to be around people who seem similar to yourself. What do you need to do when you meet people or need to get along better with people at work or some people that could be potential friends? When you encounter and see a results-focused person, act results-focused to establish instant rapport. When you see a detail-focused person, act somewhat detail-focused in order to gain rapport. When you see a friendly-focused person, act friendly-focused in order to connect. When you see a partying-focused person, act partying-focused. Remember, smile, laugh, and connect that way. So let's do a brief mental exercise to help you practice using these 4 interpersonal styles. Imagine or picture somebody you know who's results focused. Somebody you know who mainly wants to know what time it is. This person does not care about all the good work you did building the clock that will tell them what time it is. What could you do to seem a little more similar to that results focused person? What could you do to come across a little bit faster and more results oriented to be able to connect and establish rapport? Think about that. And let's switch gears. Think about somebody who is detail focused. Somebody who wants you to spend a lot of time with them, who wants you to tell them how to build the clock, plus how you plan to build the next clock in a lot of detail. Even if you're normally not detail focused, what could you do to make that person feel like you seem on the same wavelength or you seem in sync? What can you do to act more detail focused with that person? You should know the answer by now. So we're just giving yourself a little mental exercise. So next, imagine a friendly focused individual. Imagine somebody you know. This person who's friendly focused, remember, loves a chit chat. Before getting down to discussing plans for socializing or work, they want to talk about personal topics. So even if you tend not to be friendly focused, ask yourself what specific behaviors you can use to make the friendly focused person feel more comfortable with you. Next, picture somebody who oozes partying focus, interpersonal style. They love to yuck it up, have a good time. They're the life and the energy of the party. When you walk into the room, you can feel it. Anytime they laugh, they consider you absolutely fantastic if you laughed with them. What could you do to make that partying focused person feel like you're at least somewhat similar to them? So think about that, and you should know the answer at this point. So by answering these questions, how you can work with each of these 4 types of individuals, about how you can make them feel more comfortable with you, more in sync with you, and more on the same wavelength, you answered a basic question about how you can make a great impression on somebody very quickly and easily and establish rapport. So as you probably can guess, this key ingredient in these questions I just asked you, I call it mirror, mirror on the wall. And you probably heard about the technique called mirroring. Mirroring somebody is important to be able to make an instant connection to them, so you can move on to see if they're a good fit for you and not somebody you don't want in your life. This is an important aspect of how to use someone else's basic habits to help that person feel more comfortable with you. By detecting certain habits they use and then using some of those habits when you interact with them, you automatically put some really good rules into actions in terms of helping you create rapport with them. You can mirror somebody or make them feel like they seem similar to you when you mirror their body language and vocal style. By mirroring these features, you can leave a person with the sense that you seem similar to them, and that might make them interested more in you and developing a friendship or relationship. That is what I mean here, is you seem in sync or on the same wavelength with them. Let me just give you a couple brief examples on that. You can mirror body language. The most common basic mirroring technique you can use to mirror someone is body language. It's a very subtle technique and it makes people feel very comfortable with you. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're sitting down, somebody comes up to you and stands hovering over you, actually looking down at you as you look up at them, and they try to hold a conversation with them. I'm sure you can imagine that. So the person's standing up, you're sitting down, they're looking down at you, you're looking up. Not a comfortable position. How would you feel? Would you feel like you're on the same wavelength and sync or comfortable with that person? No, of course not. Very few people would feel comfortable in that kind of situation. Instead, you may feel that the person is trying to one-up you or take power position over you. So imagine that same person sat down with you. You instantly would start feeling a bit more comfortable with that person, right? I bet you would. How would you feel if you leaned back in your chair and the other person leaned forward towards you, almost in your face? Would you feel comfortable with that person? I can guess probably not. So that's important to understand. The important thing is that this person is not mirroring you, that you're interacting with. So imagine that you lean back and they also lean back. You probably feel somewhat more comfortable because of the person's body language is mirroring you. So you get the idea. Mirror somebody's body language at your first meet in order to gain rapport and to be able to connect and to be able to move on to see if you have commonalities or interests in becoming new friends or with your work colleagues, I should say, to help you get along with them better. Think of a time when you leaned forward very excitedly telling somebody about something, but that person leaned back. Didn't that give you the impression that they felt rather disinterested in what you were saying? Or wasn't really involved in it, enthused as you felt? So now imagine you're very enthused and you lean forward almost at a 45-degree angle, eagerly telling somebody about something that's exciting for you or it excites you. The other person leans in at that same angle and seems involved in what you said. Since the both of you are leaning forward, you probably feel comfortable with that person, like you're on the same wavelength in terms of body language. So these examples, sitting, standing or leaning forward or back show you how very powerful mirroring can be to be able to make a good impression on somebody, like in a work or career situation, or to be able to establish rapport so you can see if you can build a good relationship or friendship with. If you want to make a good impression on somebody, it works wonders to mirror their movements. And again, this is written in more detail in Dr. Michael Mercer's book, How Winners Do It. That book is available only at positivelifeanswers.com. So let me tell you what else you can do. You can mirror somebody's standing posture. So if that person's standing, you stand. If they lean or perhaps lean on the table, then you lean a bit sideways also. If they stand straight, then you stand straight. You can also mirror the person's sitting position in terms of are they upright, leaning forward, leaning back. This is, again, examples of mirroring. Now be very careful when you're mirroring the body language that you don't give them the sense that you're mimicking them or making fun of them. You don't want to go to that extreme. You just want to somewhat mirror the person you want to impress, or you want to connect to. Move somewhat similar to that person and don't exaggerate it. Another mirroring technique is how people use their body when they talk. For example, do you talk with your hands? I tend to do that at times. I just have a more animated body posture when I'm teaching or talking. Even at doing this podcast now, if you were seeing me, you'd see that at times I move my hands when I talk. So ask yourself, do you move your hands? Think about people you know who talk with their hands. When they talk, their hands go all over the place, and they're literally talking with their hands. Issue that can come up here is discomfort can pop up if a person who talks with their hands talks with somebody who keeps their hands glued to their sides. Do you think these two people are on the same wavelength? No. Someone talking with their hands and somebody who's standing there as stiff as the board with their hands glued to the side, there's no way they're going to connect. Certainly not. One probably feels the other person is stiff as a board, while the one who appears stiff as a board feels like the person who talks with their hands may be a little more dramatic. So let me just offer a suggestion to you. Next time you feel much comfort and rapport with somebody, notice how you and the other person are sitting and standing. Most likely both of you are sitting or standing in a very similar manner. That occurs when two people feel comfortable with one another. They often naturally mirror each other. Just think about this. Listen up here. When you feel close to someone, you literally, figuratively, and emotion seem similar to that person. That explains why you experience those wonderful, warm feelings of rapport with somebody. And on the other hand, with people you don't. So as a professional speaker and consultant, I often deal with a lot of people I've never met, especially when I'm going to give a speech or a workshop with a new group of people. I used to feel subconscious about what to do with my body, but this no longer puzzles me. Dr. Michael Mercer's work and my work with him, with many intensive coaching clients, we've discovered this method. Now, when I meet people for the first time, I immediately start to mirror their body language. If they're standing, I'm standing. If they're sitting, I sit. If they talk with their hands, I talk more with my hands. If their hands are glued to their side, I really try hard to keep my arms more relaxed to the side. Such instant mirroring gives you quickly the following results. You feel quickly comfortable with them, and they feel comfortable with me. Plus, on top of that, I feel more comfortable because I don't have to worry about what to do with my hands, whether I should sit or stand, or how I should move. It accelerates the idea of comfort and rapport with this new person. Mirroring makes your interaction and collaborations with people at work smoother and less stressful. So you can use this in your personal life when making new contacts to evaluate if these people are friendship material for you and healthy. And you can use this in your work environment. And it really does help when you're working to make people work together much better. I have a couple more thoughts I want to share with you. To make rapport with somebody, you have to listen, and listen very carefully. Listening will give you the attention you need to connect with people. How do you feel when someone does a lousy job listening to you? You feel like they are standing in front of you, but they're like 1,000 miles away in their head, or they're thinking about what they want to talk because they have their own agenda. We've explored this with hundreds of people over the years, and most people say, well, they feel very ignored, unimportant, and frustrated. They often decide to avoid spending much time or energy with anyone who fails to listen to them. So what can you do? Very importantly, be present. What do I mean there? Be in the moment. Listen to the person. Don't think about what you're going to say. Don't think about your agenda. Be present. People can tell just even by your eye movements that you're thinking about something else and not paying attention to them. And we talked about this in our different examples of emotional vampires and drainers who are so self-absorbed and narcissistic. They don't pay attention. They're not present with you, and they drain you. So first, you must be present, focus, and concentrate. Concentrate on what's going on. Concentrate on what the person is saying. So often, rather than listening, we spend so much time figuring out what we want to say. So remember, be present and focus on the person you're trying to connect with. And then paraphrase or repeat what the person said to you. When somebody says something to you, you can say, "Let me see if I heard you correctly," and repeat back to them using the same or similar words. Make sure you heard it right. And you can say, "To make sure I have it right, please let me ask you this." And ask the questions to clarify what you thought the other person said. And this last one is a very good hack, what I would say motivational hack or interpersonal style hack. Let's call that interpersonal style hack, this last one. And importantly, this last technique is called name calling. While listening, once in a while, use the name of the person you're talking to. This name calling system or techniques makes the person feel special. After all, because a person's name is the most beautiful word in the world to that person. So remember, use their name. When I meet somebody and I'm trying to connect with them, I'll say, "Hey, Ann," and then I'll proceed on. So use name calling in the right sense. Some people, I could just read your mind. You're saying, "What?" Are you saying, "Dr. Mary, I'm supposed to mirror this other person? I thought you want me to evaluate whether I can get along with them and they're healthy." True. The questions were, though, how do you instantly establish rapport so you can move on to that evaluation in your interaction with people about whether they're going to be good and healthy relationships? So I know you're saying, "What?" This sounds like selling out. "Dr. Mary, are you saying that sometimes I should act differently than my real self?" Well, what I'm saying is no. I'm just saying when you're talking to a friendly, focused person, act friendly, focused just to get started. For example, maybe I'm results focused or you're results focused oriented. When you're saying that when I'm with a friendly, focused person, I should act friendly, focused, even if I'm normally results focused, even if the friendly focus is not the real me. On top of that, would it be helpful to mirror body language and vocal style the people I want to impress? Is that not me? Well, this is a technique that helps you connect with people so you can move on to a deeper relationship. It makes it much easier. Remember, people are varying degrees of this four-square style. You can be results-oriented yet somewhat detail-oriented. You can be friendly focused and yet a little more results-oriented focus. Remember, this guide is to help you establish initial rapport with somebody. Once initial rapport is established with somebody, you can get to know them more easily. Now let me get back to what I was just going to start to say. You use these temporarily as what Dr. Michael Mercer and I call a pace lead technique. So pace lead means first establish rapport easily with this technique that I just taught you today, and then lead them to explore and learn more about them, such as using more open-ended questions. So pacing is mirroring. And when you establish that rapport, because you seem similar to them, then you can move on to explore and learn more about them by using open-ended questions that we talked about. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about what you like to do. Things like that. So why should you do that? So you can see if they are somebody you want to be friends with or have them as a part of your life. So these techniques are important. So remember, use the four square to pace and instantly connect. And as you're feeling more and more comfortable, ease into exploring more about that other person that you're evaluating to see if they're going to be good friends for you. Learn more about them by using open-ended questions, not yes/no questions. Go into more about what kind of work do you do? What do you like to do? Ask those questions, sit back and relax, and let them talk with you, and then listen and observe what they're saying. And if those are some things that you're interested in, and if not, just move on. So remember, the only thing you remember about this whole podcast today is that to make a good impression or connect with people is that human beings crave to be around people who seem similar to themselves. To help people feel more comfortable with you, make them feel that they're in sync with you on the same wavelength, and that they understand your thoughts, feelings, and opinions. And then remember the 4 square interaction style. Analyze if the person you want to connect with or impress tends to be results focused, detail focused, friendly focus, or partying focus. Then act somewhat similar to them. Mirror them in their body language, vocal style, things like that we talked about. And listen well, be present. And remember, use their name and ask open-ended questions. This is the secret to being able to quickly connect easily to others, and I think you understand it now. However, let me know how this lesson today I'm teaching you lands with you. I like this question. I appreciate questions from my audience, so thank you. That really sparked this podcast for today. So if you have any questions about this or anything else I talked about, feel free to email me at Dr. Mercer, that's DrMercer, at positivelifeanswers.com. You can also use our Contact Us form on my website, positivelifeanswers.com. Don't forget to go to my website to contact me via that form, and also find on the sign up page where you can sign up for my free newsletter, and I do mean free newsletter at positivelifeanswers.com. And you can go there and look at the online store to learn a little bit more about these techniques that would help you personally and in your career, called How Winners Do It. You can order that on our online store at Positive Life Answers. And if you're stuck and need more help on this topic or anything else that we've talked about, you can contact me about my unique patented intensive coaching sessions. Also, you can put in a request if you'd like me to speak at one of your conferences or organizations that you're connected to. So let me know if you're ready to take a leap in your path to changing or improving your life via my intensive coaching sessions. I can answer any of your questions if you contact me, and as I offered last time, contact me and I will set up a free 20-minute consultation to explain all the details, of course, about intensive coaching and what it entails. So feel free to contact me at positivelifeanswers.com on my email address that I just gave you. A note to my listeners, my podcast aims to provide useful information. It's published with the understanding that your host, Dr. Mary and Michael Mercer, is not engaged in rendering professional services such as counseling or therapy through the comments and contents of this podcast. If you need professional service such as counseling or other help, then you're responsible for seeking the services of a competent professional. I suggest you contact your local psychological association or contact your primary care doctors for referral in your areas. So thank you for listening. Get out there and connect with wonderful, productive, and healthy people who will support you in your quest to make improvements and changes in your life. Thank you for listening. Make it a fantastic day and week. Dr. Mary.